Admitting powerlessness over our problems is extremely difficult, and putting God at the forefront of our lives in the face of those problems is even more difficult still. Welcome to Breaking the Cycle. My name is Alan Hyde, and I'm your host. I ask you to join me as we unravel stories of recovery, shift perspectives, and inspire change in those who are seeking answers and solution. Let's get into it. Hey guys, I thought today would be a good idea to go through and outline one of the tools that we utilize in our 12-step program, Al-Anon. This is a tool that I've found extremely helpful in my recovery process, and I kind of just wanted to share it with you guys here today so that, you know, people listening, if you're looking for resources, help, and support, you could gain some information on the tools. So these are the do's and don'ts that we utilize in the program of Al-Anon. Do forgive. Do be honest with yourself. Do be humble. Do take it easy. Tension is harmful. Do play. Find recreation and hobbies. Do keep on trying whenever you fail. Do learn the facts about alcoholism. Do attend Al-Anon meetings often. Do pray. Don't be self-righteous. Don't try to dominate, nag, scold, or complain. Don't lose your temper. Don't try to push anyone but yourself. Don't keep bringing up the past. Don't keep checking up on the alcoholic. Don't wallow in self-pity. Don't make threats you don't intend to carry out. Don't be overprotective, and don't be a doormat. I remember when I first started coming into program and they would read these things before the meeting started in open sharing. We'd go through some literature, and this was always in my home group back in California. This was always one that I really looked forward to hearing week to week, and it's proved to be really helpful in my life. I keep these set of structure pretty close in my day-to-day life because it gives me a map of like, am I working my recovery? Am I utilizing my recovery or not? And sometimes I need really simple guidance and structure like the do's and don'ts provide. And as I would go through them, it's like, we'll go through them here today so you can hear a little bit more in depth. And I won't go too wild in depth on these, but just to give you kind of a sense, it's like, do forgive. I had a really hard time forgiving the people who had caused me harm in my life. But not only that, let's say I was out and about and somebody was doing something I didn't like. I was in line at the grocery store and somebody was having a hard time checking out, or they had a bunch of coupons, or they couldn't locate the money or the way that they wanted to pay. I used to get so irritated, you know, and prior to program, I would be visibly irritated. You could see it all over my face. I wasn't ever really the guy that was going to say something to people, but I wouldn't put it 100% past me at that time. But now when I have situations like that, I take a deep breath. I know that I'm okay. I'm not in a rush. There isn't a race, and I'm going to forgive that person for, you know, just being a human being, you know, because if I were in that situation, I would want the person behind me to be calm and understanding and respectful. And most times people are. And so I've learned in my program day to day to forgive people for their minor transgressions. And over time, recovery has given me the ability to forgive people even for their major transgressions. People who have hurt me in my life, I've learned to let them off the hook. Do be honest with yourself. This was a big one. Recovery doesn't work if we're not honest. You know, if there are behaviors that I'm engaging in, like trying to control outcomes, trying to tell people how they should live their lives, then I'm not focused on myself. And I need to be really honest about that, because when I'm not honest about my behaviors, I don't change. I don't work my program when I'm not being honest. And honesty requires me to be honest about how I'm feeling. It requires me to be honest about my thoughts. It requires me to be honest with the support system in my life, my sponsor, my therapist, people in my community, of the ways in which, you know, I'm having a hard time, or the ways in which I'm acting out, you know. And the way I act out when I'm not utilizing my program is I get real self-righteous or I start trying to control outcomes. And I'm so worried about the way that things are going that I try to then start to do everything by myself instead of turning to God. And when I'm really honest with myself about those things, I utilize my support network and things get better. Do be humble. Humility is a hard one. You know, it's not allowing even my recovery to go to my head, you know, realizing that I'm more of what I don't know than I do know. And so when I hear do be humble, it reminds me that whether it's the janitor or the CEO, that person has something to teach me if I would just listen. And when I approach situations from that place, things go a lot better for me, as I imagine they would really for anybody. Do take it easy. Tension is harmful. Prior to my recovery days, everything was a crisis. Everything was serious. Everything what needed to be solved right now. And these types of prompts, like taking it easy, I get to just enjoy my life. Things are a lot more peaceful. I don't have to make everything a crisis. Things don't need to be solved right now. The tension of those things used to just cause me all kinds of stress. And by reminding myself to take it easy, I can relieve that stress. I can go to a meeting, I can talk to people, I could go bowling, I could have a board game night with friends. You know, I could just take it easy. Life's already serious enough. I need prompts like this. Do play, find recreation and hobbies. I didn't have hobbies prior to recovery. I was isolated. We talk about it sometimes in program. We call it despicable loneliness. And I was in that place. I had played baseball for 19 years, but after my baseball years, I didn't have a whole lot of hobbies. I didn't have a lot of fun things that I like to do. And through the grace of God, I found recovery and started to piece those things back together in my life. I started to host a board game night where I'd invite friends over and we would play goofy board games and card games and have a good time. I started allowing myself to do social functions and, you know, go out and join people, kind of like I was talking about, like going bowling or, you know, being available to go to someone's birthday party, being involved in a community where people actually celebrate birthday parties, you know, and allowing myself to be a part of that, or finding hobbies like, do I like to make things, or uh, go and engage in sporting activities. And I didn't do that stuff prior to recovery, but now that I do, things are a lot better and give me a lot more things to do in my life. Do keep on trying whenever you fail. I used to think failure was just the epitome of this situation is done. No one's ever going to forgive me. Things aren't going to be good in this situation anymore. And we've all heard the different anecdotes of like failure is a stepping stone to success, and it really, really is. But the reason this one's really powerful for me is as humans, we fail all the time at the things that we try to do. And I need reminders that it's okay to keep on trying. It's okay to keep going. I used to think that it was such a defining moment for me when I failed and I had to do everything perfectly. Today, I don't have to do things perfectly. I can fail and then keep trying because trying is what matters. Do learn the facts about alcoholism. I won't go too in depth on this one other than to say prior to recovery, I would look at someone who had a problem with substances or an addiction. I would just think, what a just awful existence. What a despicable person, you know, and I was so judgmental until I learned that alcoholism is a disease. And not only that, for me, it's a family disease. It's impacted me emotionally from the very beginning. All right. And I never educated myself on it. When I started going to program, my sponsor would have me read things out of the big book so I could understand what the alcoholic in recovery is doing and why it's an unmanageable problem for them. I would go to open AA meetings and I would hear the experience, strength of hope of people taking care of themselves. And I needed that. I needed to see an alcoholic in my life who was taking the steps to get better. Because prior, I was just resentful of all the alcoholics in my life who wouldn't get better. I needed to see people who were working the program, and it softened my heart, as I imagine it would for you in the same exact way. When you see somebody who truly cares about taking care of their well-being, you see that they're an imperfect human just like me, but they're willing to do better just like me. and it evens the playing field. And we all need that. Do attend Al-Anon meetings often. It's hard enough to admit that we need support. And in the beginning, I protested. My therapist told me early on, she said, you need to go to Al-Anon. That's where you're going to find the answers. And she's been around the block many years. She's a 30-year plus therapist and has been in recovery for many of those years. And when I left her office, the first time she told me, I had no intention. Like, I knew I needed to do something to feel better, but I didn't want to go to meetings. And when I came back the next week, when I was first working with her, she asked me if I had gone to a meeting in the prior week, and I told her no. And she looked me straight in the eyes and she said, I'm unwilling to take your money if you're unwilling to do the work to get better. And it was a risk for her to say that, but it worked for a guy like me. I'm not saying that would work for everyone, but for some reason that worked for me. And I went to a meeting that night. And once I went to the meetings, I realized I need to keep coming back. These people have a lot of information that's helpful for me personally. And now that I have years under my belt, I see the value in going to meetings often. I try to go 3 times a week. And when I do that, I hear different perspectives. The tools stay fresh in my mind. The slogans are fresh in my mind, so I can utilize them throughout my days. And I get to share what I'm going through. And each one of those shares over the years I've been in program, each one of my shares, each time I've reached out to call people, every time I've taken a call, every step I've ever worked with my sponsor, every tool I've ever implemented, set a foundation of self-esteem for me to utilize in my life and know that today, here and now, in the present moment, I'm okay. And I'm going to be okay. And that's been invaluable. It's been invaluable for me. Do pray. We've talked a lot about this in some of the episodes prior. Hit your knees. Talk to God. Talk to the higher power of your understanding. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. You don't even really need to have structure, especially not in the beginning. You really don't need to have structure at any point. You just need to start talking to a power greater than yourself. It's not mystical. It's not magical. It's just a conversation. Right? Trusting something other than yourself for the way that this whole life works, and understanding that it's not up to you to control it. And prayer helps us do that. It invites in a relationship to let things go. And I don't know about you guys, but I needed that constant reminder, like the reminders that we get in the do's. And I think I'm gonna leave it there. I don't think I'm gonna go through all of the don'ts. Maybe we'll do that in the next episode or another episode later on. I think wrapping it up today and keeping it nice and short and sweet on the do's: do forgive, do be honest with yourself, do be humble, do take it easy. Tension is harmful. Do play, find recreation and hobbies. Do keep on trying whenever you fail. Do learn all the facts about alcoholism. Do attend Al-Anon meetings often, and do pray. I think if you do those things, I can speak from experience. If you do those things, life gets better. It gets easier. There's less stress, and you'll feel better. And you'll be surrounded by people who are actively trying to do these things too. If you're in need of that support and you decide to seek out meetings like Al-Anon or even AA, if that's what you're looking for, or NA, or any type of 12-step program or support group that you're looking for, you'll find people who are trying to do these things, and they do them well. And so, as always, I'd like to encourage you to reach out for that support. If you relate to the things that I was talking about today, feel free to reach out to me. Go over to my website. You'll find more information like this, or just go online. You're going to find a ton of information like this out there available to you if you need it. Other than that, I hope you guys are doing well, and I will chat with you in the next one. Have a good day. I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of Breaking the Cycle. If you're looking for more information regarding the topics that I discuss in this podcast, jump over to alanhyde.com. The website will be in the description. If you're looking to get involved, make a donation, or to get your hands on some cool Breaking the Cycle merchandise, that will also be available at the website, and we encourage your support. Without your support, this podcast would not be possible. So I just want to thank you, and as always, bless your heart.